Now here we are mainly worried about the systems which are having some movement. That is what we are mainly worried here. So what are the different types of motions that are generally possible? So first one is a translatory motion, that is a movement along a straight line. Then you are having a rotary motion. It is a movement with respect to a point or with respect to a axis. Then you are having a oscillatory motion or a periodic motion. So periodic motion means the motion is going to repeat in certain intervals of time. So that is called as oscillatory or periodic motion. So the periodic motion can be rotating, so the object can rotate in one direction, then it will rotate in the other direction. So like that it can happen. Or it can be in the translatory, so it can go forward, come back, again go forward, it will come back. So all these things are examples of oscillatory motion. So these are the different types of motion. So now why motion is important. So now why we have to understand the different types of motions is, you take some mechatronics device. So which was earlier a mechanical device, now you are converting it into mechatronics device. The example is say a lathe, CNC lathe, or you can take the example of the robot. So in the either lathe or in the robot, we require some kind of movement. Now this movement we are controlling by using certain actuators. Now we cannot operate the actuators, that is electrical motors, at any speed. So depending on the speed of the actuator, you are going to get a particular kind of motion. So if you want to move along a straight line, then you have to make sure that you are driving the motor at a constant speed. Then you are going to get a straight line. Now you want to get an inclined line, or you want to create a line at an angle. Then you have to create, you should have two actuators, and the two actuators should be operated at a particular speed to get a line which is at an angle. So there are different calculations that are involved to get a particular kind of motion. If a human being has to do, he will not think much. He just knows how exactly to move to a particular point to perform the task. But if you want to achieve the motion in a machine, then you should be able to give the proper signals so that the required kind of motion is generated. Now if you are having an object, that may be a robotic arm or it may be a CNC lathe where the cutting tool is there. An object in space can have 6 motion components. So any motion it is having or any movement it is having, it can be resolved into 6 components. So what are those 6 components? There are 3 translatory components, or we'll say that an object can have 3 translatory movements and it can have 3 rotary movements at any given point. So if you are taking the Cartesian system, then you are having x-axis, y-axis and z-axis. So you can have translatory movement along any of the 3 axes, and you can have rotary movement about any of these particular axis. So the object can rotate about x-axis, it can rotate about y-axis, or it can rotate about the z-axis. So any movement the object will achieve, or the object you want to give, that movement can be resolved into these 6 individual components. So you can break them into 3 translatory components and 3 rotary components. Or an object in space, if it is moving, then it will have 6 individual movements that are possible, or we will say that it is having 6 degrees of freedom. Now if you want to simultaneously control all the 6 degrees of freedom, there is no method available. So in order to get a particular movement, what we will do is, for each of these 6 individual components of motion or 6 degrees of freedom, we will be having an individual actuator. So you will be having an actuator which will cause motion along the x-axis along straight line. You will be having one more motor which will cause the straight line motion along the y-axis. One more motor which will cause the linear motion along the z-axis. Then you will have one more motor which will cause the rotary motion about the x-axis. One more motor to cause the rotary motion about the y-axis, and one more actuator to cause the rotary motion about the z-axis. So you will be having different actuators to cause different motions. Now whatever the component of movement you are having, so that much amount of movement has to be generated by a particular actuator. Now it becomes very easy. So you have to control one actuator to get some amount of motion. So you are giving a signal by using different circuits. So you are able to achieve a very complicated movement of the object. So on the whole, if you are seeing, the object is taking a very complex path, like maybe you are doing the painting, or in a CNC machine you are making a very complex profile. The tool is moving at a particular direction. So it may appear very complex, but if you are breaking it down, you are seeing that all the motions are broken down into individual components, and we are controlling only those components by the individual actuators. Thereby, it becomes very easy to implement. Now, the important thing to remember is what is the degrees of freedom and what are the constraints. Now, any actuator, if we say it is having only 1 degree of freedom, means out of the 6 possible motions that can happen, only 1 is allowed, remaining all the things are constrained. Whenever we say constrained, which means we are not allowing the movement to take place. Now we'll see some examples to understand the degrees of freedom and constraints. So if you take the first one here, the left one, you are having one cylinder inside which you are having another cylinder. Now how many types of motion this particular object can have? The smaller cylinder, it can move along the y-axis up and down. The cylinder in the figure can move up and down along the y-axis, and also it can rotate about the y-axis. It is having 2 degrees of freedom. Now whenever we say a joint in a mechatronic system or any joint, it should have only 1 degree of freedom that will correspond to one of the components of the motion. So only then we will be able to control it. So now it is having 2 degrees of freedom, so it may not be very useful for us. So whenever you are having like this a joint, so you are having a square object inside a square hole, then it can have only 1 degree of freedom, which means it can move only in the up and down direction along the y-axis. So we have constrained the 5 degrees of freedom and we have allowed only 1 degree of freedom for this particular object. So it is having only 1 degree of motion. So next we are having a plane surface on top of which you are having a block. So it can move along x-axis, it can move along the z-axis. Now can it move along the y-axis? No, the block will prevent the movement. What about the rotations? With respect to the y-axis, it can rotate on this particular surface. So how many degrees of freedom it is having? It is having 3 degrees of freedom. Now, if you want to control such an object which is having 3 degrees of freedom, if you want to locate it in a particular position or in a particular orientation, you require 3 actuators. You have to remember that. One actuator will control the movement along the x-axis. Another actuator will control the movement along the z-axis. Then the third actuator will control the orientation with respect to the y-axis, at what position it is present. Otherwise, this object can take any orientation. Now it is parallel, this surface is parallel to this surface. If it is rotating, means this surface will be at an angle to this surface, or it can be perpendicular. So it can take different orientations. So that is why it is important to understand how many degrees of freedom you want, and for each degree of freedom, you have to have an actuator and you have to control that particular actuator to get the required kind of movement. Next one is this one. So now you are having a 2 plates, 2 surfaces, which is having a small gap in between. Whatever the gap is there, you are having a block of same width. So the width of this particular block is equal to the gap present over here. Now with this block is present inside the 2 surfaces or in between the 2 surfaces. Now how many degrees of freedom are there? Along y-axis, the object can move up and down. Along the x-axis, it can move from right to left. Now, what about the rotations? It cannot rotate about the y-axis because of the corners. It will not be possible to rotate. Now, can it rotate about the x-axis? Again, it is not possible. But can it rotate about the z-axis? So it can rotate like this. It can rotate in the clockwise direction. It can rotate in the counterclockwise direction. Both the directions it is possible to rotate. So this will be having again 3 degrees of freedom. So this component and this one is more or less the same. Only difference is you are having one more surface on the top. So actually, generally speaking, this additional surface may not be required because it is not creating any additional constraints, but you are having a design in this way. So even though you are having an additional surface, it is not imposing any additional constraints. So this object can rotate in clockwise or in the counterclockwise direction. So we are having 3 degrees of freedom. So how many constraints we are having? We are placing constraints on 3 and we are having 3 degrees of freedom. So totally they should be equal to 6. Now there is a principle called as a principle of least constraints. It will say that in fixing a body or guiding it to a particular type of motion, the minimum number of constraints should be used. The minimum number of constraints should be used. Or from this one, if we are writing in a numerical form, we can say 6 minus number of constraints should be equal to number of degrees of freedom minus number of redundancies. Now, what is the redundancy? Redundancy is the additional constraint which is imposed on the object, but it is not going to serve any function, or it is not going to impose any additional constraints. So you can see in the example we have discussed, even though we have put one additional surface over here, which is coming in contact with this particular object, it is not creating any additional constraints. It is not creating any additional constraints. So it is any redundancy will create more problems in the assembly and more problems in the controlling, because we have to worry about both the surfaces. So if you are actually speaking, both the surfaces should be having a proper surface finish, the tolerances should be very accurate. So many other things are going to come into picture. So another example where we can see the redundancy is your door. Now, how many hinges a door should have? So actually speaking, a door should have only one hinge. So it should be strong enough so that the door can open and it can close. But how many hinges a door will have? Usually it will be having 3 sets of hinges, one at the top, one at the bottom, and one more at the middle. So you are having multiple links. If you are considering them as separate, you are having multiple links, and each one is having its own degree constraint, which means it is only allowing a rotary movement, but there are 3 hinges which are doing the same function. So there we'll say that there is a redundancy. So any system, preferably it should not have any redundancies in it, but sometimes it is preferred to avoid any chances of failure. So if you are considering the redundancies, then you have to consider all the constraints that are imposed by the redundancies also. Then you will have the equation as 6 minus number of constraints should be equal to number of degrees of freedom minus number of redundancies. If redundancies is equal to 0, then you can say number of degrees of freedom plus number of constraints should be equal to 6. So that is how the principle of least constraints is there. So as much as possible, you should know what is the kind of movement is required. Then to achieve that particular movement, how many degrees of motion is required. Then accordingly, you should be constraining remaining all the movements possible, so that with the least amount of constraints, you are able to achieve the required kind of motion.